This is Viewpoint with Chris Pierce. Today's program has been underwritten by Body Auto Real Estate, providing personal and professional real estate service since 1987. For all your real estate needs, call Diane Body Auto at 402-690-4769. Linda McDermott with Fricke & Associates is an independent insurance representative helping you with personal and business insurance as well as your long-term care, life, health, and retirement needs. Come join the conversation at PoliticalInsidersReport.com, Nebraska's source for local politics.
Viewpoint with Chris Pierce. I'm Michael Severe, and I'll be your guest host for the next 3 weeks as we present discussions and debates with the candidates for Omaha City Council and Omaha Mayor. All general election candidates were invited to participate in the Viewpoint debate series. Our questions for the candidates were generated from citizens across Omaha and was compiled by a committee consisting of Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. The candidates have not seen the questions, and they've had no input on their content. We will continue our discussions on Omaha City Council District 5. Candidates are former State Senator Rich Pahls and Jeff Moore. We're happy to have both candidates on this morning, and we will follow this debate format. The format starts simply with a 1 minute, it started with a coin flip to determine who would go first. That was the order of the debate. Each candidate will have a minute for opening statements. Also, the candidates receiving the questions will have 1 minute for the answer, and his opponent will have 45 seconds for the rebuttal, and then 30 seconds for a response. This process will rotate between candidates. Also, each candidate will have 2 minute closing statements. Let's start with you, Senator Rich Pahls, for the first 1 minute opening statement.
Thank you. I appreciate giving me this opportunity to speak in front of this particular group. I just want to introduce myself a little bit, just give you a brief background. I have been a school administrator for over 30 years in the Nordic school system. The last 8 years I've been a state senator representing the southwestern part of the city of Omaha. I chaired the Banking, Commerce, and Insurance Committee. That meant I carried the bills for the Department of Banking and the Department of Insurance. I was also very involved in the Department of Economic Development. I hope to bring those skills to the position as a member of the City Council. I also had some experience as a board member on SID for several years. Also, I was the president of the Center of Association for the City Council's Association dealing with neighborhood associations. Thank you.
Take it 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Moore, and I am running for City Council District 5. What I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself is I'm a lifelong Omaha resident. I have been married to my wife, Jerry, for 24 years, almost 25. I have one son, TJ, he's a freshman at Creighton. I am a State Farm agent by trade, and I've been doing that for 23 years. I'm a small business owner, and so I am not a politician. I am a person that is a small business owner that is running for a political office, and I hope to bring my insights from the business owner aspect into city government so that I can help the city of Omaha. As a lifelong resident, I am so pleased with Omaha and look forward to moving it into a further direction for future generations.
Issue the first questions, and you have a minute to answer it. The city of Omaha recently ratified the city's firefighter contract. It was expired in 2014, that's less than 2 years. Given the long road this current contract took to be accepted by all parties, when do you see the new contract negotiations beginning, and what will be the major issues of the next contract?
Okay. I applaud that we did with a contract signed. And I think a couple of organizations such as Doug Hagan's tax group and the city council also went along with this agreement. It was time to get it stopped and started. Now, we still have a number of issues to resolve, so my understanding, we will be starting the renegotiating of that very soon, because that contract will be due, like say, in the year 2014. So we will need that time to get moving on this particular project.
Thank you.
I'm pleased that the contracts that we've taken care of so far have been made. what I do believe is that the contract negotiations start now. We need to, as a city council, get together with the unions, get together with the firefighters, the Omaha police, and make more progress in these negotiations. To sit back and wait till the last minute and try to decide if the mayor is going to be in charge of negotiations or if the city council are going to try to pull that back from the mayor. I think the mayor should handle those, and I think that negotiations start now.
I agree. When I said when we started, that's what I mean now. Not a question.
Next question, you get a minute to answer this. Mecca manages the entire entertainment venues owned by the city of Omaha. TD Ameritrade was built at cost $128 million. Only two contract tenants right now, Creighton and the CWS. Both celebrated Big Sky Festival in Omaha Nighthawks, both failed. What can the city council do specifically to bring more events and long-term tenants to TD Ameritrade and the CenturyLink Center?
Well, I visited with the Visitors Bureau probably a week or 10 days ago and talked to Dana Markham and want to know what the city can do to bring more people back into visiting Omaha. And the thing that I would like to see as a dreamer, I'm a person that goes to other cities, visits other cities, see what they do. I see what happens in Austin with South by Southwest. I see what happens in Kansas City and St. Louis and Des Moines, and want to start having more money invested into the city so that we can bring more events. We can have our own South by Southwest. I'm a big supporter of the arts and entertainment here in Omaha, and I believe that with more investment, we'll be able to do more things here in the city.
Thank you. This past year, in the legislature, we did improve the tourist dollars that would come back not only to in the state of Nebraska, but also to the city of Omaha. Because we know we need those dollars to make things work. Also, I think we need to sit down with Roger Dixon, who is actually in charge of that particular center, and see what do you need from us to make this work. You cannot argue that we are in competition with all the other cities that are around us, and we need to have our act together. I think if as a group, if we would work with those people in charge, it would get done.
I would like to see more investment from the city of Omaha for the Visitor Center. Right now, Douglas County seems to be investing much more dollars, $3 million from Douglas County, $500,000 from the city of Omaha. We need to do better on that to bring people.
This is your question for a minute. Going back to the firefighters contract. There's always a winner and loser in negotiations. Do you believe Omaha Firefighters Association won this negotiation? Do you believe it was a fair contract for the city?
Well, I don't know if I can say anybody won because we still owe a great deal of money. What I thought was important that we did get to the table, we did get something signed. Instead of going back and forth, we now have something to start with and to continue. We know we have to take a look at certain issues, and one of the issues apparently is healthcare, and that's something that we probably need to start talking. But I think we got to start, and that's it.
Well, winners and losers, I know. Hopefully there's different degrees of winners and losers. What I'd like us to see is that both of us can walk away, and maybe this is a pipe dream, but I'd like to be able to see both of us walk away from the table at the end of that negotiation and say, we both have put something into this, we both are happy with the results of it, and be able to move forward. There's too much animosity between the unions and the city council and the mayor. We need to start working together to try to let everybody walk away in a happy mood and be a better service to the community.
You have 30 seconds to respond to that.
I agree. We need to, like I say, I think everyone came to the table. There was negotiations. They had a professional person involved in the negotiations. Now that that's settled, we need to remove the politics, sit down, and start that process again without all the politics involved.
Next question for a minute. Largest obstacle for Georgia's job seekers in North Omaha and South Omaha, for that matter, is the public transportation system in Omaha. What does the city of Omaha need to do to close the transportation gap for those Omahans who want those jobs but can't get to them?
It's a difficult question because as far as where the city finances are right now, to close those transportation gaps, we have to seek investments. What I'd like to see is more private businesses contribute to some of these transportation needs. So if we had a faster, sleeker metro system, possibly with investments from businesses that are looking to hire, that we may be able to say, okay, let's combine the partnerships of business and city government and and be able to move forward so that we can get people that need and want jobs into those positions for those business owners like me that want to hire, but they just can't get people in. I'd like to help people by combining business and city investment.
Thank you. What we need to do, we need to target those areas. If there are particular areas in the city of Omaha where we need to have people have the ability to get there, we need to analyze that. And then we can concentrate our efforts in that particular area instead of just spreading it all over because we can't afford that. But we also need to think about getting those businesses involved in North Omaha so you don't have to worry about transportation. We know that they're trying to do that right now. The Chamber of Commerce is involved in that. We're trying to get more businesses located in North Omaha so you do not have to worry about transportation.
What do you think?
Targeting an area is one thing, but what I'd like to be able to do is have a transportation system that would be working for all the citizens of Omaha that want jobs. If you live in Midtown and you don't have a car, you need that job just as badly as somebody that may live in North Omaha or South Omaha, and I'd like to see us be able to take care of all of our citizens.
Short answer, would you support light rail or streetcar?
The cost investment, I've still been looking into, possibly a streetcar, maybe a different kind of busing system.
It would have to be by private or corporate sponsorship. Take a look at the way the city is sitting right now. We don't have an awful lot of dollars to play with, so we need to take a look at the private or the corporate world to help with that.
Next question, you have a minute to answer. As you know, small businesses create the majority of jobs for Omahans. What do you see the role of the city council being supporting those small businesses?
I think the key to it is working with the Chamber of Commerce. They started in the early 1990s of what they called Target. And they had Target 2, then they had Go 2. Now they're Prosper Omaha. What they're trying to do with private corporate relationships, come up with some money so that they could focus on what areas that we need to be building in the city of Omaha. Their goal is to eventually come up with $3 billion worth of investments. The city council would have to be the group behind the chambers to provide that impetus and that desire to move forward. That's our direction. Thank you.
As a small business owner, I would like to see city government stay out of the way. And that means stop taxing, stop looking at small businesses as income, and rather stay out of the way of taxing small businesses so that we can take our money and invest into the community by hiring more people. We have a lot of things that are coming down the road as a small business owner that we don't know is how it's going to impact our business. But what I like to see is, as I operate, is stay out of my way and let me go full gun so that I can go ahead and hire people and get them to have a job and be back in the community working hard.
That's why I said private and corporation sponsorship. I'm not saying to have the government involved in that. You have those groups working with the city. That's the direction we need to be going.
There's some big sewer problems happening, of course, in the city. MUD implemented a flat-run fee. It's believed that it could climb even higher than it is now over the course of the years per household. What can the city do to protect our seniors and other folks on fixed income against those rising costs?
I'm going to be honest with you on that question. I haven't been able to study it as much as I would like to. I know where we're heading with this. I've studied it enough to see that those things are coming. What can we do to help our seniors and maybe our lower income citizens? I don't know if we shift some of that burden over to more of the corporation and that they're paying it. But at the same token, if we shift more of it over towards the corporation, do they pull up jobs? Do they pull out of the city and say, well, we're going to move to Bellevue, we're going to move to Iowa? It's such a complicated issue. I would really need to study that more before I could give you a good answer.
I think the corporate world has sort of decided the direction they want to go. We talked about the individual. We already have one thing in place called homestead exemption. Those people who would qualify for that, I would assume, would also qualify for such assistance from this particular issue. And we do have other assistance programs. We'd have to see if there's a relationship that we could tie with to help those people out.
I agree with Rich. I mean, if they would qualify for those savings, then all the power to them. I'd like to see those continue. I never assume anything. I haven't read it enough and decided that's the direction that it's going to be. I hope that it is, and we can continue that as a city council person.
One of the abbreviations we learned, you have a minute to answer this question over the last couple of years, is TIF, or tax incremental financing. There was a bunch of controversy over the building of the TD Ameritrade building at 108th and Dodge, mainly because of being the neighborhood considered blighted. Also, what is the true purpose of TIF? So some state legislators felt the city council misused TIF. Do you feel the city council of Omaha is carelessly using TIF and not for its intended purpose?
Well, to be honest with you, this was on the floor last year. There's some people concerned about that, how the city was using TIF. We look at, there are a number of groups that have used TIF very successfully. First National Bank, ConAgra. The return, you have to look at the return on that dollar that we get after a building such as ConAgra, which was only getting a couple $1 million. Now it's in the $60 million after 15 years. So the TIF does have its place. Now, in order to qualify for TIF, there are 5 ways of doing that. And I'll just give you an example. Several years ago, I was asked to see in the Millard area, the old Millard lumber yard, if they would be capable of going for TIF out there. They would. They could. The thing about it is, the one reason why I could, because of the loss of people in that particular area around that lumber yard. So it was possible to get it, but I was told that very few TIF plans are approved this side of 77.
What about 7?
You know, I think the question on it, if I understand correctly, was, is the city council carelessly using TIF money? And you know, I don't know if it's a gamble, if it's something that they invest in, if they hope that they pick out the right situation to be able to use that money in. I can't go backwards and look at, you know, negotiated contracts. I don't want to go back and look at how they picked out who would be able to use TIF. All I can say is that we would look at it in a very respectful way and see if there's somebody that needs it more than others.
You just don't say, I want TIF. There are 5 requirements in order to qualify for that. So it's not just say, hey, I want to do that, give it to that property because I have to like that particular person. They have to meet one of those criteria. And then then you have to look at the cost-benefit analysis of that particular job that you're looking at.
Person goes to Jeff a minute to answer. There was a reversal of by the Nebraska legislature. An ordinance passed by the city council to expand $50 wheel tax. People who don't live in Omaha city limits. Do you feel the state legislature overstepped its bounds to create a law reversing the council's decision?
No, I don't believe they overstepped their boundaries. As much as I would like them to pay the tax because they are using the city's road and paying for things as they come in from Papillion, as they come in from Ralston to work at their jobs here in Omaha, I would love to see us be able to have some of that money. But it is a city ordinance, and I think that the state was proper in saying that now we shouldn't make those citizens go with the city law if they're not living in the city.
I'd probably be critical of myself if I disagree. They're not citizens of the city, so
I think you believe that there should be special consideration for Omaha by the legislature because it's a different city than any other city in the state. So how metropolitan area?
I think it's a slippery slope that we start, saying, look, we're special. I mean, the state seems like they don't quite like us very much anyway. So, if we start saying, well, we're special, I think that there could be a lot of problems with, why isn't Grand Island, why isn't McCook, why don't they have special ordinances as well?
the state is broken up in different classes of cities.
Yeah.
Omaha is the largest one, so we are a city in ourselves, our own class. But the other cities, like Grand Island, they're in a different class. They have different statutes that would apply to them.
Spirited controversial annexation of Elkhorn several years ago. People were upset about it. Do you believe the city council should look in annexing other communities like Ralston, Bennington, or Valley?
Flatly, at the moment, no. I think when you talk about Ralston, part of that is actually in another county. And I think Bennington and the further communities out there, they're very comfortable with where they're at right now. And I don't see the need to do that unless they say, hey, we want to come on in.
Well, I think Ralston is in Douglas County, isn't it? But at the same token, no, I don't see at this time saying I want to annex any of those cities. For one, I'm not sure what, let's say if Ralston, for example, just build a new arena. Do we want to take on that burden and those, consequences that come, possibly with that? And so, I'd say, leave the towns where they're at right now, and, in the future, maybe something to be looked at, but I don't see it.
Just to be honest with you, I think the reason why Elkhorn was pushed because there's a $10,000 10,000. That was the magic number, and if Elkhorn had reached 10,000, then an annexation would not have been possible. I think that's the reason why that was.
Sorry, one question before you guys have your closing statements. Occupation taxes, everybody talks about them. Restaurant tax, tobacco tax. You get on the city council, do you want to maintain those taxes or try to repeal them?
Well, at this point, I say we have to maintain them until we can find another source of income for those taxes. The restaurant tax was supposed to bring in, I believe, $11 million. It's now $25 million. So when I'm out door to door and people are saying get rid of the restaurant tax, and I'll say, well, what do we use for another $25 million? Where do we go with $25 million with cuts, which means jobs? And I don't want to go down that street. I'd rather see if we can figure out different ways to either reduce and maybe reduce the restaurant tax and reduce spending at the same time, so that we don't have to get rid of those occupational taxes, but that we don't have to go and make major cuts.
Right. I think we probably have used the occupational tax. I think we need to take a hard look at those. Right. You don't just flip them over one day to the next and say we're going to do away with it. There needs to be a plan of action. But I'd say the key to it, there are a lot of people that are very upset with those additional taxes. They probably have very little input. And to be honest with you, at times the legislature thinks that we've actually turned the switch down here, and they're not meeting with good demands down at the legislature.
30 seconds, comment.
Yeah, no, I think we both somewhat agree on this. I have friends in the restaurant industry that I would like to support. At the same time, I'm a citizen. I don't want to pay any more taxes than I have to. And so, do I like taxes? Absolutely not. But you can't just say, well, we want to get rid of something until we figure out a way to work with our budget.
Give it 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Okay, all right. Well, again, my name is Jeff Moore. I am really an unknown and running for District 5 City Council. I'd like to thank Viewpoint for hosting the debate. I'd like to thank Michael for being the moderator. He's been here probably quite a long time this morning. And I would like to thank my family, who's been very, very supportive of me in this endeavor. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my committee members, especially my good friend Dan Fossek, who continues to have me jumping and running and trying to win this election. As I said before, I'm a business owner. I want to bring in my life aspects of what I've gone through, because I don't have political experience like Mr. Pahls does. But if you're looking for someone that is just an average citizen, that has learned to work within a budget, has learned to make tough decisions because of my business background, then I would say vote for me on May 14th. If you want somebody that's political, that's been in the political machine and has that experience, then I would say that your choice is Mr. Pahls. And I'll let you decide. I appreciate your support. Everybody's been very kind as we've been on the election trail, and I would look for your vote on May 14th. Thank you very much.
Appreciate 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, I thank you all for helping us and appreciate you directing me there. One thing I need to make clear, I'm not a politician. I spent 30-some years as a school administrator. I spent 8 years at the legislature. And if you think you're a politician making $12,000 a year, it just doesn't work that way, guys. I also was on my SID board, so I took a look at how the local lay of the land was. I was involved with the neighborhood center, which was associated with all the other associations. So I don't see myself as a politician. I see myself as one of those individuals who's trying to make things work. And that's where I'm coming from. I think I can bring some of my past skills to this particular body, the City Council. Because right now, the City of Omaha does not get its fair share of the tax dollar back from the state of Nebraska. It is amazing the amount of dollars that we do get back compared to other cities. We need to develop a better relationship. Right now, that relationship is a little cool. And I have a lot of connections with the individuals down there. They know me. They know I'm an honest person. They've dealt with me in the past. I've worked on legislation with them. They know that I say something unfair, and I treat everybody in what I call I use the word again, in a fair manner. And again, I want to thank you for having us here today, and also God bless America.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank both Jeff Moore and Rich Pahls for being part of this today. To watch our discussion with Jeff and Rich on your computer or mobile device, just log on to our website at any-viewpoint.org and watch the podcast of this discussion and all of the discussions and debates. When we come back, we'll change our focus from City Council District 5 to District 6. Right back.
The Midwest Ovarian Cancer Association mission is to support women diagnosed with ovarian cancer, to educate the public about the disease, and to support research. Currently, most women diagnosed with ovarian cancer have advanced disease and require prolonged medical treatment. Our goal at MOCA is to see fewer women diagnosed in advanced stages and to assure all women the availability of support and access to information. Please support these efforts by liking us on Facebook.
For 45 years, Family Housing Advisory Services has been improving quality of life by helping people achieve housing and financial stability. FAS prevents homelessness, educates homeowners, provides foreclosure prevention options, develops financially wise consumers, offers affordable mortgage lending options, eliminates housing discrimination, and reduces poverty. Programs and services include homebuyer education, tenant services, financial management, tax assistance, homeowner finance, and fair housing. For more information, call 402-934-7921.
50 years!
The Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands
Have been helping kids like me.
Like
us. For just $30 a year, I can get
a healthy meal,
homework help, exercise, a safe place to stay after school every day. At one of our 8 clubs. My name is Janelle.
And I am the Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club. We are the Boys and Girls Club! Like us on Facebook at BGC Midlands. Cox will donate $1 to the Boys and Girls Club.
Do you know about 211? It's help for an elderly relative or a troubled teen, family counseling, or job training. Instead of hunting for phone numbers, dial 211. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, talk to someone who will find the local information you need. United Way and its statewide partners want you to get connected and get answers. Dial 211 or go online at ne211.org.
My son, the Cub Scout, helped raise money to make camping safer.
My son, the Cub Scout, stood up to the school bully.
My son, the Cub Scout, volunteers at the homeless shelter.
My sons, the Boy Scouts, helped clean up after the devastating flood.
My son, the Eagle Scout, helped save a man's life.
My sons, the Eagle Scouts, are defending our nation.
My son, the Eagle Scout, became a doctor,
civil engineer,
police chief,
wonderful husband and father,
state senator,
astronaut.
Join Scouting 2012.
Welcome back to Viewpoint's 2013 Election City Council Debate Series. I'm Michael Severe, sitting in for Chris Pierce. We focus on the next 3 weeks, the candidates running for Omaha City Council and Mayor. We just finished with our discussion of the City Council District 5 candidates, Rich Pahls and Jeff Moore, and we thank them for participating this morning. We'll continue our discussions with Omaha City Council District 6. The candidates are incumbent Franklin Thompson, who was elected to his seat back in 2001, and former Elkhorn Mayor Phil Klein. Mr. Klein declined our invitation this morning. We are with Councilman Franklin Thompson. Thank you very much, Franklin, for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
Let's start off with something you know pretty well. City Council ratified the firefighters contract. It's coming up again, though, in 2014. When do you believe you should start negotiating for the next one? And what are some of the major issues in the next contract?
We will probably start negotiating sometime around October, November. We're going to have to decide whether the council is going to have an authority or whether we'll vote to give it back to the mayor. Originally, I felt taking it from the mayor was only a temporary solution. Ultimately, I think it's better to have one person negotiate rather than 7.
So if it was up to you, it would be the mayor's office that handled contract negotiations?
I think it's wiser to do that because it's a little bit more efficient. The only reason why we took it away, Michael, is because we just felt we were at kind of like a loggerheads, just impasse, and just we felt something needed to change just to get some movement.
Maybe we can't call it a win or a loss, but when you look back at the contract you guys negotiated, do you feel the firefighters wanted? Do you feel it was a fair contract for the city in the end?
I wanted more. Specifically, I wanted more with regards to healthcare. People talk about spiking and that was a major thing, but healthcare is a major thing too. And right now, if you look at their leadership, the people that lead the department, they went to what we call the civilian plan, which helps save a lot of money. And had they went to the civilian plan,
this time. They kind of went halfway to it, but not all the way. Had they done so, we would have saved a significant amount more.
One of the other concerns I hear from people would say retirement is at too young of an age.
It's too young.
Yeah, so is that something else you guys tried to get done?
If you remember when we had the police, because that contract's coming up too.
Yes.
Both of them are. I had one of the amendments to try and raise that age as well as lower the benefit. You have people who fight in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they're getting somewhere around 50 to 60 range, and then we're allowing our current people to be at 75. And so you have to say, if you can fight in Iraq and you're getting 55, fighting fires in Omaha, that's important, but on a scale of a balance, we want to equal things out.
Let's go to our next topic. Mecca manages the entertainment venues owned by the city of Omaha. City of Ameritrade costs $128 million, 2 major contract tenants, Scott Creighton and the College World Series. We've lost the Big Sky Festival, the Omaha Nighthawks, so only 2 tenants right now. What can the city council do specifically to bring more events and long-term tenants to TD Ameritrade and the CenturyLink Center?
Well, we're going to have to market, and we don't spend enough money marketing. That's one. We have to spend money to make money. I believe that. I do believe that pro soccer would go over well in Omaha. I think if you had a league in which all the ex-players that aren't too old of the Big 12 and the Big 10, if they had a league, if you can imagine Eric Crouch still running against people from Oklahoma.
Right.
I think something like that would go over well, but a private person would have to want that.
Yeah.
More concerts. Just got to be aggressive about getting out there and making it work. The crowds show up, don't they?
Yeah.
It's just that we have to have the event.
Yeah. It's a big event in town, of course.
Yeah.
In terms of the question of the city council can do, I mean, you talk marketing, that's basically the Visitors Bureau.
Yeah.
Mecca's booking events. Do you think it'd be a good idea to maybe get an outside organization that's about bringing in tenants and bringing in concerts to help out?
To some degree, Dana Markle is doing that. She's hired a consultant that helps us take a look at what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So I do need to get with her and find out what her findings are of this first round. But we are doing that to some degree. We just have to find a way to compete with Des Moines and Kansas City and Minneapolis.
Right. Large number of people live in North Omaha and South Omaha that want to have jobs. A lot of the jobs are in West Omaha. Transportation through Omaha transportation system isn't that great at times. What can the city council do to make sure that those folks who want jobs, who live away from where the jobs are, can get there?
It'll be a combination approach. There's certain things, several things you have to do. One thing you have to do is ask the people. You can't make decisions and then just leave the people out of it and then say, here's something that we're going to apply to you. That's backwards. So bring them to the table and say, what do you think needs to happen? Maybe we can do some innovative things. Right now, share a ride is kind of an ad hoc, you just kind of wing it. But maybe we need a coordinated share a ride program. Okay? I'd like to see the bus rerouted, or at least the system overhaul with citizen input, of course. And maybe more subsidies to help those who are poor and elderly who ride but can't afford to. Ultimately, though, you're going to have to look at some kind of a north-south 24th Street corridor, like where people move. Now, I'm not saying that you do that in two years.
Right.
But you have to have short-range plans and have a long-range plan. And in the long range, we need some kind of people mover. Have you ever been to Detroit?
Yes.
And they have a people mover? I think that would work here. And then, so I think you do 24th Street first, and then you follow that up, if it's successful, with Dodge Street. And I just think somewhere along the line, within the next 10 to 15 years, that has got to be an Omaha reality. Now, that's different from a trolley car.
I was going to ask you if you support streetcars.
Streetcar,
The entertainment essence of it,
Yeah.
bringing people to the entertainment things and bringing them away from it. back to their cars or away from the CenturyLink Center or into the old market.
But there are some cities who are doing that with automobile-oriented traffic.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to
Like
laying track in the street. So, again, I'm open to that stuff, but let's not be careless with it. Let's really be smart, and let's have the research drive it and not our emotions.
I know small businesses create the majority of jobs in Omaha. What do you see the role of the city being to support those small businesses?
Well, you know, we have TIF projects, but TIF seems to help more the larger, like a Walmart,
right,
or the development that's on 72nd and Source. I'd like to see TIF applied more to the smaller mom and pop type places. I do believe that even though, for example, I don't serve North Omaha, but I want to be a councilman for the whole city. We've done decent with housing construction and housing development, but we're behind when it comes to business development in North Omaha. Yeah. And one of the things that I notice is that in South Omaha, we have a product. People from my district drive to South Omaha and they take out their wallet and they say, give me 3 of those. Food, yeah. We don't have that for North Omaha. We need a product to sell. Now, whether that's a tangible product or whether it's jazz or music or whatever, we have to get that. In order to get that, you got to also work with the violence issue. And I know you'll probably
That's what I was going to ask you next.
later. Yeah.
You can have that there, the small businesses.
Right.
People that drive and then move because of the violence, the crime issue. How do you address that?
You first, don't let it scare you. Entice people, give them enticements to go to North Omaha. And what you do is you start along that Cumming Street corridor. Don't have everything be so Creighton oriented. Let it be, you know, the businesses that serve that neighborhood. And then you slowly then start moving it back to Hamilton Street and then Lake Street and then Right. But I think the violence part, should I talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It has to be what we call at UNO, we call it ecological intervention. And what that is a fancy word meaning you need like several different angles coming all at the program simultaneously at once. If you just have one doing it over here in a silo and another doing it over here in a silo, it's disconnected, it won't work. But if it's all coordinated and it comes in a crescendo, then I think you can make it work. We have to have two parallel, a double barrel approach. We have to have the being tough with those who are coming in from LA, coming in from Denver, just to use the people and sell. But then we have to also have on the front side the prevention, and we have to also help parents. Now, that's not to say that North Omaha doesn't know how to be parents. It's just you're getting into some serious things there because in the culture of poverty, it's a cyclical thing. And I remember when I was caught in the culture of poverty, I did dumb things because I didn't know better. And so there's sort of a deprogram and then reprogram that has to happen. And I'm starting to see it slowly. I'm starting to see young black kids coming up to me and say, there are other options, aren't there? There are other ways to think politically. There are other ways to react, or I don't have to always be a social worker or a basketball player. I can be a chemist. Something that simple. Most of us, because I went to tech high school, we all thought we had to be Martin Luther King or a social worker. Right. We didn't even think about science or math. So it's a deprogram, reprogram effort. And it will take some time, but somebody got to get going.
We'll make sure on DVR this one's my wife's a social worker.
Okay.
When you mentioned TIF earlier, when the city council approved the tax intermittent financing or TIF for TD Ameritrade office building in 108th and Dodge, there was controversy over the phrasing of the neighborhoods being considered blighted, and also about the true purpose of the use of TIF. Some state legislators felt the city council misused it. Do you feel the city of Omaha is carelessly using TIF for its not intended purposes?
I voted no for that. I called state senators, and I told them to please look into it. So, But
why were you against it?
well, first of all, the initial concern that we had when we put in TIF was for areas where you had 3 and 4 buildings boarded up. Right. What they did, they took TIF, applied it to an area that had a gated community, and they didn't even use it for building. They used it for road construction.
Right, yeah.
Not sewers, to repave roads. Now, I was told by city planning, they knew up front that they were stretching, that this was the biggest stretch in terms of applying what the meaning of the law was.
Right.
So it was too experimental. Plus, it's taking money and focus away from the eastern part of town. Now, if you want to do TIF in my district, go out to Elkhorn, which we're going to do, because there are buildings out there that are older than dirt. And there's a need for Main Street and downtown Elkhorn. That's where you put it. You don't put it where the Spyglass community is a gated community.
But isn't the idea of doing those roads, you get that building built, you have people coming in and out of there working at your TD Ameritrade, that's like a trickle down economics idea, right? You got to get them there and you make money off of them coming in the
Michael, if the state senators tell me that that's the intention, I'm okay with it.
Right.
But right now, I'm not sure that that's what that was meant for. So revisit it, expand it, and then I'll be okay. But for us to just unilaterally do that, I'm not sure. I think we were stepping out of bounds.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about jobs and business. What do you think Omaha City Council can do to help small businesses?
Well,
which employ the majority of the workers around town.
Right. I kind of hinted a little bit in that I'd like to see TIF apply more for those kinds of smaller businesses. More incentives to be able to develop and not have to worry about going under so soon.
Right.
Giving them cheaper loans, longer to pay it off.
Almost a parachute for the first couple of years.
Yes, that's what we need to do.
We've seen the fees that are going to be put in place by MUD because of all the sewer projects. They're talking now about those fees being as high as $150 per month per household. What do you do for seniors and folks with fixed incomes if those costs continue to rise going on their bills?
Again, there's no simple answer. There's a kind of a multiple approach. First of all, we need to make sure that our upfront costs can be trimmed down. For example, there's some talk whether we should put this big underground retaining structure in downtown area. That's
relief? Is that
well, we would retain the water and then slowly release it to the plant, slowly release it out into the river. So to construct that would be a lot of money.
Sure.
So we have to make sure our cost up front, are we really being wise about that? Then we need sort of like a relief program on 3 levels. We need to talk to our congressional delegation, and the mayor has to lead that. Because if I step up and try to do that, then the mayor will say that I'm stepping on his territory.
Right.
But I would be willing to help the mayor address the congressional delegation saying we need help, we need federal help. We need to go to the governor and say we need state relief. But more than that, Michael, we need a municipal fund, a relief fund, that helps offset people who are poor, people who are on fixed income. And right now, we have nothing like that. There is no relief or rainy day fund. And we could have a rainy day fund, but in order to get that fund, we would have to get funds from someplace else. I think I know a great place to get it from.
What would that be?
Across the river in Council Bluffs, they do well with 3 men on a fire truck.
Yes, okay.
And a river separating the 2 cities is good over there.
Much larger city over here, though. Much more responsibility over here.
All you have to do is call 2 or 3 trucks to a fire, and you'll get 6 people. You'll get 8 people to a fire.
Right. You remember this well. Reversal by the Nebraska legislature of the ordinance you guys passed, $50 bill tax for people who don't live in Omaha, coming in Omaha. Do you feel the state legislature overstepped its bounds to create a law reversing you guys' decision?
First of all, it was my ordinance. The 3 mile ordinance was my ordinance.
Right.
And when it got overturned, I felt it was the wrong thing. It was the wrong thing. Those people are using our streets. They're driving our streets. They're tearing up the asphalt.
Yeah.
And now, if you say to me that maybe their fee should only be half of what the major fee is, no, I'll go for that.
Mm-hmm.
But to say it should be at all, that's not a we team community mentality.
Yeah.
I think we need to get away from the yours and mine, it should be ours. Now, having said that, those people out there have a legitimate right. They say taxation without no representation.
Sure.
So you know what I want to do? This fall, in November, when we send our legislative package down to Lincoln for the unicameral to look at, I want to send down something that says, if you're in the 3 mile zone, you're not incorporated in the city, you can still vote for municipal elections.
Okay.
And I want to see if I can get a senator to pick that up and carry it.
Right. We'll say this. This is personal now.
Okay.
Don't you think we've already overtaxed on our vehicles? I mean, you can have a 7, 8-year-old vehicle. You're paying $300 a year, which is 3 times as much as any other place I've ever lived. Don't you think we're already overtaxed on our vehicles?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, which is why I voted no for the last wheel tax increase.
Okay.
I was a no vote. So there's 2 things we're talking about. Whether everybody should pay and whether we're paying too much. I do think we're paying too much. But I think people in the 3 mile zone should pay, even if it's at a lower rate.
Speaking of the 3 mile zone, you were around for annexation of Elkhorn. You know how controversial that was. In this question, it asks the question, should we look more at Ralston, Bennington, or Valley as places to expand?
Before I answer that question, I will say that the annexation of Elkhorn, I still feel it now. There were 8 people annexed, 7 councilmen, and 1 mayor.
Right.
Most of them were gone.
Yeah.
And the ire of those people for the 8 that comes on me.
Right.
I feel it daily and weekly.
Do you feel they're getting, as part of it, do you feel they're getting the services they deserve?
I listened to a guy sent me an email, and he compared to what they used to have to what they have now. And maybe there is a legitimate case. Maybe the service that they had at one point for, let's say, snow removal was quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps I drank the mayor's Kool-Aid and didn't quite understand what they were saying 5, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But at the same time, there's a lot of benefit that they're getting too. For example, as soon as we annexed them, I went in and had their MUD tax lowered.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so there's a trade-off. You lose some things, but you gain some things too. Mm-hmm. And for example, we're using TIF to now do downtown Elkhorn redevelopment. So it's not a total 100% loss, it's a trade-off. And as people talk about that, I'd like for them to think about it in a fair way, a fair analysis, not just this emotional thing. But also, the bigger question that you came at first with, we have to make sure that what happened in Detroit doesn't happen to Omaha. And if you said you've been there before.
I have visited, yes.
And you have this inner city, and then it's surrounded and landlocked.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just read in the news recently that the state's thinking about taking over the municipality of Detroit.
Right.
Because it's in such trouble. Well, we're land banked on the riverside.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we don't do that on the western side.
Sure.
We're also land banked north and south because we're a county.
Right.
So we only have west to go. I'm glad the unicameral allows that kind of flexibility, and other states are envious of our ability to do that.
We still have SIDs and stuff to look at before we look at Ralston or those other communities.
Yes. Now, Ralston has a higher debt ratio.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how that's going to go.
Okay. You know about the occupation taxes. I'm sure you hear from people about the restaurant tax, tobacco tax. You are a council member already. Do you think we should maintain these taxes, repeal them, wean our way off of them?
If you get rid of them, you wean your way. You don't do this draconian, snatch it away, right? That's irresponsible. I voted no for all those taxes. However, if we get away from the tobacco tax, then let's replace it with the half-cent sales tax. I agree with the mayor on that.
Okay.
That's one thing I do agree with.
That tobacco tax, I've heard this many times over. So that goes to the cancer center at UNMC?
I have a problem with that, Michael.
Answer the question. Tell me why independent organization like Nebraska Medical Center would need that help to build a cancer center.
They do have an endowment, and they do have money that they could apply to.
Sure.
However, it's okay to have public money, but have it be a state initiative. Right now, if somebody from Schuyler comes to Omaha and uses the center, they get the services, and Omaha's paying for that.
Right.
Well, I came up with a compromise. And the compromise, instead of having 18 cents on the pack, let's go down to 3 cents, but make it statewide.
Oh, okay.
And no one wanted to go with that. But to me, make it a state tobacco tax, because research does show a connection.
Right.
So for me, I voted no because it was an Omaha-only issue.
Sure. I want to get one more question before we give you your chance to have your minute and a half or so for closing. You know about the accusations of police misconduct by Omaha citizens. If funding was mandated by city charter, would you be in favor of an independent process to review citizens' complaints involving city employees?
You know, I've always thought, and I voted no on an auditor before.
Okay.
However, at some point in time, you gotta be honest and say, it's not working. And I'm at that point where I'm saying it's not working, so I'm willing to try an auditor. However,
auditor or something else?
Either or. I would prefer a citizens council that had a lawyer who then had subpoena power, because then the people are really invested. I mean, can't you just imagine Tariq Alameen on that council? I mean, you get something done, okay?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people are saying let's have an auditor. Well, I'm willing to look at that. But if you do, you got 4 problems. You got, where do you house it out of? Do you house it out of the mayor's office? You'll get another Tristan Bond thing where there was a personality conflict.
Right.
Okay. Then number 2, subpoena power. Number 3, this whole issue with how it's tied in with the contract, where they have like privacy and the citizens can't have access to information.
Right.
And then I'll pay for it. Right. So recently I went on record as saying I'm 75% there. The 25% is about the details.
Okay.
Give me the right details, I'll be 100%.
Take a minute and a half or so to give your closing statement.
Oh, I just believe that good government is both addressing your own district as well as the whole city. If I just become a West Omaha type councilman and I don't concern myself with what's happening in East Omaha, I'm not doing a good job. I believe that I'm one of the senior people on the council. There's some institutional knowledge that I bring. Don't scrap everything and start over new. Let the people who have done a good job, who have knowledge, who knows how to work the system, stay in and help the new people that are coming in. I'm a man of reason. I don't shoot from the hip. I think things through. I do my homework, and I don't need the job like some people need it. Like I've got to have this like oxygen because it gives me, a buzz or it makes my revenue. No, I'm here to serve. And so if the people want me back, then I'm ready to do another last and final. This will be my last time. But if not, then I'll support whoever the people support.
Thank you, Franklin. Appreciate it. Good job. I want to thank Franklin Thompson for being part of this today. Watch our discussion with Franklin on your computer or mobile device. Just go on our website at www.ne-viewpoint.org and watch the podcast of this discussion and all the discussions and debates. That is our program for today. Next week, we'll focus on City Council District 7 and Part 1 of the race for mayor. Remember, the general election is Tuesday, May 14th. For more information on the candidates and where you can vote and how, Douglas County Election Commissioner's website is www.votedouglascounty.com.
50 years!
The Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands
I've been helping kids like me. Like me. Like us. For just $30 a year, I can get
a healthy meal,
homework help, exercise, a safe place to stay after school every day. At one of our 8 clubs. My name is Janelle.
And I am the Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club. We are the Boys and Girls Club! Like us on Facebook at BGC Midlands. Cox will donate $1 to the Boys and Girls Club.
My son, the Cub Scout, helped raise money to make camping safer.
My son, the Cub Scout, stood up to the school bully.
My son, the Cub Scout, volunteers at the homeless shelter.
My sons, the Boy Scouts, helped clean up after the devastating flood.
My son, the Eagle Scout, helped save a man's life.
My sons, the Eagle Scouts, are defending our nation.
My son, the Eagle Scout, became a doctor,
Civil engineer,
police chief,
wonderful husband and father,
State Senator.
JoinScouting2012.org.
For 45 years, Family Housing Advisory Services has been improving quality of life by helping people achieve housing and financial stability. FAS prevents homelessness, educates homeowners, provides foreclosure prevention options, develops financially wise consumers, offers affordable mortgage lending options, eliminates housing discrimination, and reduces poverty. Programs and services include homebuyer education, tenant services, financial management, tax assistance, homeowner finance, and fair housing. For more information, call 402-934-7921.
The Midwest Ovarian Cancer Association mission is to support women diagnosed with ovarian cancer, to educate the public about the disease, and to support research. Currently, most women diagnosed with ovarian cancer have advanced disease and require prolonged medical treatment. Our goal at MOCA is to see fewer women diagnosed in advanced stages and to assure all women the availability of support and access to information. Please support these efforts by liking us on Facebook.
Do you know about 211? It's help for an elderly relative or a troubled teen, family counseling, or job training. Instead of hunting for phone numbers, dial 211. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, talk to someone who will find the local information you need. United Way and its statewide partners want you to get connected and get answers. Dial 211 or go online at ne211.org.